Hello and welcome to this video, which is going to be talking about sprites in motion, in particular about animating sprites. So we've already seen how to move a sprite. So if I took a sprite such as this one here and moved it over here and went to motion and said I want it to move not just 10 but 100 steps, then it'll move 100 steps. But every time the block executes, it does so instantaneously, and that really isn't animation. The trick to animation is not to move a lot, but to move a little, like move 2 steps, and do that over and over again. Well, we know how to do that over and over again. In the control palette, we have repeat and forever blocks. So for example, I could do forever, move 2 steps, and I'm going to put my sprite over here. And I hope I can stop this in time. We'll find out. There it goes. And I stopped it. Now I think you can see a problem with this. If I continued and allowed the sprite to move off the edge of the stage, it would be lost. It would be terrific if when the sprite got to the edge of the stage, we could detect that and do something about that. In fact, there is a way to do it, and that involves what are known as decision blocks. The decision blocks, and there are 2 types of them called if and if-else blocks, are found in the control palette. And the way these things work is the if, and we'll concentrate on the if block for a moment. The if block has a hexagonal location here where you can put in what's called a predicate. A predicate is a block that produces a value that's either true or false. And if the block happens to be true, then whatever you put inside this C section gets executed, takes place. If the predicate turns out to be false, it doesn't do what's in here. Now I realize that what I just said sounds complicated, but in fact if we take a look at an example, we will find that it is quite straightforward. So let's take a look at an example. In order to do this, we're going to have to first of all find ourselves a predicate. And predicates can be found in a couple of different places, but I'm going to go into the sensing, and you will notice there are a number of blocks here that are hexagonal in shape. So we have a couple of touching blocks, we have key space pressed, and so forth. So I'm going to use the one that says touching. Now this, as I said, is a predicate. It produces a true or false value. So for instance, I'm going to say touching edge, and if I click on it, it says false, because our sprite is not touching the edge. Let's move our sprite way over here. Now it's touching the edge, and it says true. So that's going to be one of the major pieces in our script here. So I'm going to drag this in here. Now I am going to repeatedly move 2 steps, and then once I have run into an edge, I'm going to turn around 180 degrees. We know how to do that. I'm going to simply say turn, and it doesn't matter which direction, so I'm going to turn to the right, and I'm going to make this 180 degrees. Finally, I'm going to take this and put this into our forever block. Now we've got something good. So I'm going to move 2, so the sprite is going to move, and then if it's touching, it's going to turn around. But because both of these are still in the forever block, it's going to move and check, move and check. Let's watch it in action. Ta-da! And we will go ahead and stop it. We can put some other things in here as well. So for instance, if it's touching, we could maybe have it turn. Maybe we could have it perhaps make a sound of some sort. There are all sorts of possibilities. So I'm going to have it play a note. You get the idea. There's a bit of a delay now because it says play note for 0.5 beats and nothing else happens while that note is being played. Just a few more remarks about predicates before we bring this video to a close. So right now we have the ability to move, and if we're touching an edge, we're going to bounce. We can do other things if we have other sprites to run into. So I'm going to go ahead and create a second sprite. And now I have a second sprite. The script tab is now empty because I'm looking at Sprite 2 scripts, and we just created Sprite 2, so it has no scripts. going back to sprite 1, I'm going to take this block and duplicate it and keep it within the forever block. So now I'm going to move 2 and do something if I'm touching an edge and do something else if I'm touching sprite 2. I'm going to get this out of the way because I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to do when I touch sprite 2. Perhaps if we were making a game, we could increase the score of something or other, and we might consider doing that, but we'll hold off on that for a moment. I think what we'll just do is, if we run into another sprite, just jump somewhere randomly. So let's take a look and see how we might do that. So I might say if I run into the other sprite, go to, and maybe go to the center of the screen. Now that would be fine, except perhaps I don't want to go to the center because maybe that's where I was at the moment that the collision took place. So just to make things a little bit more interesting and a little bit more random, I'm going to go into the operators block and choose the pick random and put that in for the x value and put that in for the y value. And just to remind you how this works, every time this reporter block gets to work, it generates another random number in the range indicated. We know approximately how big the stage is, so I'm going to go from minus 240 to 240 and minus 180 to 180. Alright, now, I don't know if the collision... I'm going to, for right now, I'm just going to take this sprite and drag it around. It's a little bit boring, but it'll work. So here we go. I'm going to put it in position. So as you can see, it just sort of vanishes and appears somewhere else. Alright, well, anyway, enough playing for today. Hopefully this has given you some insights into how you can do animation, and in the next video, we'll be doing even more. Thanks for watching.